गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गणेश शॉट। गणेश शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। प्रणाम, वणकम एंड जय हिंद। आज हम बात करेंगे इंडियाज थोरियम लीप टुवर्ड्स सेल्फ सफिशिएंट न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी। परमाणु शक्ति में सेल्फ सफिशिएंसी या आत्मनिर्भरता पाने का रास्ता, और वो भी थोरियम के जरिए। मैं बिफोर आई स्टार्ट द होल प्रोग्राम मैं बताना चाहता हूँ सबको, आज दोपहर को मैंने ट्वीट किया था कि आज हम इसके बारे में बात करेंगे। बहुत आलोचना आई है। अगर मैं आपको पढ़ के सुनाऊं तो आप भी हैरान हो जाओगे कि हमारे अंदर why are we so underconfident of ourselves? Why are we not confident that we have mastered this technology? So let me say, सवाल जो मेरे पास आए हैं, जनरल साहब, एट व्हाट स्टेज आर वी इन द 3 स्टेज न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम? ये तो सवाल ठीक है, हम बात आंसर करेंगे। एक ने रिप्लाई किया, लीडर इज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग वर्ड, आई बेट चाइना वुड प्रोड्यूस थोरियम रिएक्टर मोल्टन सॉल्ट बिफोर वी कुड ऑपरेशनलाइज वायबल थोरियम रिएक्टर। मतलब चाइना के ऊपर ज्यादा भरोसा है, अपना खुद का एबिलिटीज के ऊपर कम भरोसा है। Right, sir, we have any timeline approximately when we can start to get electricity from thorium? सवाल है। Sir, we are discussing thorium potential for decades now. Hopefully some good news for practical application. Right, I agree. How do we know? However, do we know what we have accomplished? तो ऐसे ऐसे सवाल आए हैं। सो बहुत डाउट है सबके मन के अंदर। तो आई थिंक इस प्रोग्राम के खत्म होने तक पीपल विल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट दिस होल बिजनेस इज ऑल अबाउट एंड वेयर वी आर। दैट्स इंपॉर्टेंट। कॉन्फिडेंस इज इंपॉर्टेंट। यू कांट बिलीव इन चाइना, दैट्स द वर्स्ट थिंग यू कैन डू, एंड नॉट बिलीव इन योरसेल्फ, दैट्स इवन वर्स। Okay, having said that, let's get into the thorium business. Look at this, news item, and it's not a news item. It's from the Prime Minister's office. Okay, we'll go by what the Prime Minister says. After all, he's our Prime Minister. News update from the PM India. It says PM witnesses the historic commencement of core loading at India's first indigenous fast breeder reactor at Kalpakkam. So, what is he saying? The core loading has been done. Okay, commencement of core loading, and it's a fast breeder reactor. Okay, now आगे क्या बोलता है इसमें? इसी प्रेस रिलीज में बोला गया है, in a historic milestone marking entry into the vital second stage of India's 3-stage nuclear program, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi witnessed today commencement of the core loading at India's first indigenous fast breeder reactor, 500 megawatts at Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu. ये सारांश है. So it's vital. It's the second stage of the 3-stage program, and the core loading has been done. खैर, ये सब अंग्रेजी है, इसे हमें क्या पता चलेगा? कोई भी पॉलिटिशियन कुछ भी बोल दे, यही बहुत लोगों के दिमाग में आएगा। प्राइम मिनिस्टर को ये इलेक्शन के पहले ये करना ही था, ऐसे सवाल होंगे, ये जायज है। बट लेट्स लुक एट इट फ्रॉम फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल्स। अगर आप फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल्स अगर आप समझेंगे तो आपको भी विश्वास होगा हम कहाँ हैं, आपको भी क्लैरिटी होगा कि हम इस थोरियम साइकिल में कहाँ हैं। राइट, जैसे मैं बता के आता हूं कि गनर शॉट में मैं आपको फैक्ट्स ले आऊंगा, and we'll go scientifically because this is a scientific subject, this is a technological subject. So there will be a lot of science, there will be a lot of technology in this. But I'll make it as simple as possible. Okay. What is this 3 stage nuclear program? ये है, और ये आईएएस का स्लाइड है, ये आईएएस वालों को ना क्लास सिखाते हैं, उसका स्लाइड में उठा के लिया है, सो दैट सबको आराम से आपके लैंग्वेजेस में, आपके भाषा में आपको बताना चाहता हूं। और एक जैसे देखिए, ये पहले दिमाग जो है, सर कैन वी मेक न्यूक्स फ्रॉम यूरेनियम 233, ऐसे सवाल आएंगे। ये सब एक तरीके से देखो तो उचित सवाल है, एक तरीके से देखो तो गलत दृष्टिकोण से सब देख रहे हो। आगे बढ़ेंगे। ओके ओके, सबसे पहले लेट अस गेट द आइडिया ऑफ इंडियाज एनर्जी मिक्स। इस एनर्जी मिक्स में क्या है, राइट? ओके, so let's get to sorry, I skipped this. We need to understand what is this 3 stage. In the 3 stage nuclear power program, this is for thorium. This is for the thorium cycle. So stage 1 is the pressurized heavy water reactor. Stage 2 is the fast breeder reactor. And stage 3 is the thorium based reactor. मैं हर एक चीज को संक्षिप्त में पर ये 3 स्टेजेस आपको समझाऊंगा आज, ये क्योंकि समझने की बात है। एनर्जी मिक्स में क्या क्या है, अगर आप देखेंगे 60% आज तक हम कोल पे आधारित है। विंड और रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी यानी कि सोलर बढ़ गया है, वी हैव इंक्रीज्ड, अभी 22% के करीब है, ठीक। पर न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी से हम सिर्फ 2% हम निकालते हैं। वो क्यों हम सिर्फ 2% में अटके हुए हैं, वो भी आगे थोड़ा क्लैरिफाई हो जाएगा। ओके ओके, अगर आप देखोगे शेयर ऑफ न्यूक्लियर पावर इन टोटल जनरेशन, एक और स्लाइड है जो बोलता है 3.27, 3.72, 3.27, यही है। कभी नीचे हो गया, कभी ऊपर हो गया, कभी नीचे हो गया, पर एक तकरीबन वी आर एट द 3.72 मार्क। Why are we at the 3.72 mark or the 2% of the total energy mix and all that? It could, in some websites will say it's only 1.6%. It's not important. The major thing you have to understand is we don't have uranium. हमारे पास यूरेनियम है ही नहीं, और जितना यूरेनियम है उससे आप इतने ही कर सकते हो, इससे ज्यादा आप कर नहीं सकते, ठीक। रिएक्टर कितने भी कड़ा कर लो, आपको यूरेनियम चाहिए, और वो यूरेनियम कहाँ का बरामद होता है, क्या है, आपको समझने से आपको क्लियर हो जाएगा हमारा प्रॉब्लम क्या है, और ये थोरियम से हम कहाँ बढ़ेंगे, ये दोनों चीज मैं आंसर करूंगा। ओके, और ये भी देखिए टॉप 10 न्यूक्लियर प्रोड्यूसिंग देश कौन कौन से हैं, अगर आप देखेंगे तो बड़ा क्लियर है इसमें। यूएसए टॉप है, उनके पास 93 प्लांट्स हैं और वो 95.5 मेगावाट निकालते हैं। ओके, जहां हम नीचे देखे 23 पावर प्लांट हैं, उसमें सिर्फ 6.9 ओके पावर जनरेशन करते हैं। 1/4 the number of reactors, but your output is less than 1/10 of USA. China has just about twice the number of reactors you have, but it gets out 5 times more the power. 7, in fact, yeah, 7 times more the power. Why? That's the point. Firstly, your reactors are small capacity. Why are they small capacity? Because you don't have uranium. Okay. So, it's not a matter of technology. You need uranium. Fundamentally, you need uranium. Okay. So that is why we have gone to thorium. Or thorium, what is thorium all about? So from here on, I'll start the thorium story. Because thorium is our way out. Nationally, like someone said, for the past 2 to 3 decades, we are talking of thorium. So you have to understand this whole business of thorium. Otherwise, you will not understand where we are. Okay. It's not as if just because I'm talking today, tomorrow you will get thorium and based energy. But just understand the whole thing and then I'll take your questions. Okay. He says natural thorium is thorium 232. Okay. It must be first converted to uranium 233 before it can be used as fuel. That's the first condition. Okay. Right. Thorium is 3 to 4 times more abundant in nature than uranium. That's the second thing which we should understand. Thorium can generate fissile material, uranium 233, then it consumes while fueling. So what thorium is, jitna thorium mein it consumes energy, it gives out more energy, right? And it can be a water cooled reactor or a molten salt reactor. I'll explain to you what is this molten salt in outline as we go along. Okay. So thorium is very funny. The thing about thorium is it's difficult to start. एक बार इंजन पकड़ लिया तो रुकता नहीं है, ज्यादा होता है. Right. The next point which is important, monazite is a major source of rare earth elements. Okay, is also a primary source of thorium. Monazite. Monazite जहाँ से rare earth निकालते हैं, वहाँ आपको thorium भी मिलता है. So अगर थोरियम का डिमांड रेयर अर्थ एलिमेंट्स का डिमांड ना होता, monazite would not be mined for thorium alone. Because it is not profitable to take monazite, say, thorium out if you don't extract rare earth materials. That's the common thinking. Thorium is a byproduct, and extraction of thorium requires methods that are costlier than for uranium. So, why people have gone to uranium? Because extraction of uranium from natural uranium is cheaper. Whereas extraction of thorium from monazite is costlier. But if you are taking rare earths out of monazite, then thorium is a byproduct. Then you can go for thorium based reactors. That is what most of the world is doing, and that is what China is also doing. But their methods, I must tell you, is at a very high rate of pollution. But where we are, we will get. Then after that, the thorium reactors and the research are expensive. Okay, that's what the last said. Equally expensive are research, development, and testing of thorium-powered nuclear installations due to a lack of significant experience with thorium and uranium's historical preeminence in nuclear power. I'll spend 1 minute on this. When the whole world started, it's not as if thorium reactors are new. They were discovered in the last century. Thorium and uranium were competing alternatives. People found that thorium was readily available. It could be enriched to reactor grade and then to weapon grade. So because of that, we went the uranium way. The first attempt was to enrich uranium to weapon grade. The reactor grade was a byproduct. Okay. Whereas you couldn't do that with the thorium. Uranium gave us the easier option, ready option. Once people went into uranium, they didn't want to go to thorium. There was no attraction to go to thorium. It was now that thorium has got the focus. Because countries like China have been mining it for rare earth. Rare earth, so you could take thorium, so you might as well use the thorium. But that's not the case in India. In India, thorium concentration is very high. Availability is very high. You don't have to go through the process which other countries have to go through to get thorium for your nuclear cycle. Okay, we'll speak of it. Right. Internationally, what is the availability of thorium? This is what in this website. Okay, this is not my website. This is an international website. Look at India, Brazil, Australia, XYZ, DJ. Okay. Look at China. China has got, as per this website, just 1/8 of what we have. I am talking of China because I'll come to China a little more. Because people have commented, oh, China ke paas ye hai, China ke paas wo hai. China ke paas kak hai, nothing. Okay. So China has just got 1/8 of what you have. And that too, you'll see why. I'll explain to you where China stands with thorium a little later. Okay. Now, for thorium, you need something called the fast breeder reactor. I'm explaining this to you. I'll explain each stage of this process a little later. It says the fast breeder reactor will use the uranium plutonium mixed oxide fuel, MOX fuel. I'll explain to you what that MOX fuel is. Then there's a something called a blanket surrounding the fuel, which will undergo nuclear transmission to produce more fuel. Thus the name breeder. Why I showed this slide only because of this word breeder. And that is what we have commissioned now. We commissioned a breeder reactor. Okay? That's important to understand what has happened. Okay. So, okay. The use of thorium 232, which itself is not a fissile material, as a blanket is part of the second stage. When you use that as a blanket and how you use it as a blanket, I'll explain to you. Right? You get uranium 233. And when you get uranium 233, you get more fuel. You put in fuel, you get more fuel in this process, in the second stage. That's why it's called a breeder. It breeds fuel. Okay. Also, the thorium route is much more safer than the uranium route. Mota mota taur par. Okay. I'll go to the next thing. Right. Look at this. This is another website. It says world monazite resources, as per this, are estimated to be 16 million tons. 12 million tons of which are in heavy mineral sands deposited on the south and east coast of India. 80%. Thorium recovery from monazite usually involves leaching with sodium hydroxide, ASFTK. But the Indian monazite, you get thorium very fast. That's all I'll say. What the process is, we don't have to go through the complex process of getting rare earths out and thorium as a byproduct. You get it straight in mota terms. Okay, this is from the BARC website, right, or nuclear department thing. What does this say? It says we have rather meager reserves of uranium. We, however, have nearly a third of the entire world's thorium, which is a fertile element and needs to be first converted to a fissile material, uranium 233. So this is the crux. You don't have uranium, you have a lot of thorium. But for many reasons, we have not gone here. And this brochure is about Department of Atomic Energy shaping the third stage of Indian nuclear program. Right, we'll get to the next one. You see the resources. You have only how much? 73 tons of uranium available, whereas you have 225,000 tons of thorium available. What is the energy potential in gigawatts per year? Uranium will give you 328 if it's in a pressurized heavy water reactor. It will give you 42,000 in a fast breeder reactor. But if you go into breeder reactors, you will get so much from thorium. Okay. Uranium resources just 1% in the world. Thorium resources are the largest in the world. It's in the world, right? But like I told you, the process in thorium is complex. The process in uranium is fast. That is why people have gone to uranium. This is monazite filled beaches. You can just pick it up. Okay. You have a very high percentage of uh, thorium in this. Okay, where all it, how much is available? आप देखिए, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, uh, West Bengal, Jharkhand, everywhere. In fact, today someone in the Twitter gave out a map showing how much is available where. You can get that out, but that's not important. This is all the background for what I'm going to talk. Now I'm going to talk a little about China. Interesting, because why I'm talking about China is people have said, oh, China has done this, China has done that, and you've done nothing. 10, 15 days back, I did a video with General Hasnain. In that, one of the things I said is a pushback is commissioning of this and core loading of this reactor. People didn't understand it. Why? And this article tells you what why. Okay? This article came about last year. Okay. Right. What does this article say? South China Morning Post. China gives green light to nuclear reactor that burns thorium, a fuel that could power the country for 20,000 years. Now, what is the reality? The reality that could all this is a reality. We'll see what the reality is. He says in this article, a 2 megawatt. He's only talking of 2 megawatt. 1, 2. Okay? 1, 2. Remember this 1, 2 business. And I'll get back to that later. He says a 2 megawatt liquid fueled thorium molten salt reactor has been established in the desert. Okay. I think he's at the first stage, which is just the experimental stage. Now he says, like a big man, showed the country's progress in developing and deploying advanced nuclear technologies and positioned China as a potential leader in thorium reactor technology. मतलब वो typical China and typical all of us, so भाई China first है ये बोल दिया तो China first ही होगा बेवकूफ आदमी लोग. China is not the first country to build a thorium reactor, but no previous attempts went beyond the experimental stage. This is also wrong. वो तो सब खुद बोल रहा है ना चाइना, right? He also criticizes the Indian molten salt Bradier reactor project, initiated in the 1980s, has faced challenges related to materials compatibility, fuel reprocessing, and overall system complexity, and has not progressed to commercial scale use. Which means he's saying we have progressed and India is stuck. Okay, and then he goes on to lie. ये झूठ बोल रहा है सरासर. China is believed to have one of the largest thorium reserves in the world. I've shown you where China stands. The exact size of those reserves has not been publicly disclosed. वो तो करेगा नहीं क्योंकि है ही नहीं उसके पास. But it is estimated to be enough to meet the country's energy requirement for more than 20,000 years. और ठीक है यार, जब तक ना चाइना ही रहेगा, बाकी बाकी पूरा दुनिया में चाइना ही होगा. यही उनका है ना. Right. China reportedly plans to sell thorium reactors to other countries as part of the Belt and Road Initiative. So already you see the influence ops and डिंग मारना प्रोपागेंडा कि भाई हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी है, इंडिया के पास खास करके इंडिया के पास टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है. वो they are doing it from 1980s and have not made any headway, but we have made headway. We have the highest resources in the world. We have the best technology. We are going to put it at this thing and we are going to sell it to the world. What have they done so far? 2 megawatts. 2 megawatts. We'll talk of what we have done so far. Understand before we lose sight of what we have done. I'll get back to this 2 megawatts. Now there's about 1 week back, this article also came out in South China Morning Post. Chinese shipyard unveils plans for first nuclear container powered by cutting-edge molten salt reactor. भाई शिप होगा जिसमें एक न्यूक्लियर पावर्ड शिप होगा where they'll have a molten salt reactor, that is a thorium cycle. They have gone ahead. मतलब एक इश्तिहार देना या राइटिंग एन आर्टिकल में क्या है? You can write anywhere you want. Okay, but let's look at the forget about now. Hereafter, I'm not going to talk of China. They can do what they want, but what are we doing? That's the question. Okay, let's get back to that. I've proven to you where we are in terms of resource. Our Prime Minister has opened a fast breeder reactor. What is this fast breeder reactor? Okay, fast breeder reactor, like it looks like a breeding stud farm in a of a horse. कि वो बच्चे पैदा करते हैं, वही करता है. Let me put for those people who are पहले बार देख रहे हो न्यूक्लियर क्या होता है न्यूक्लियर ये भी थोड़ा समझना चाहिए ना. So let me explain the nuclear cycle. इसमें क्या है first and foremost you do mining and milling so you get the nuclear material out. Then you convert it into nuclear material. Then you enrich that nuclear material to the desired degree you want. And then you make fuel out of it. And that fuel is put in a reactor. And from that reactor, you get energy. Then that fuel which comes out of the reactor is spent fuel. You have to manage that. And then you have to do waste disposal. This is the nuclear cycle for everyone. Okay. Now, here comes the thing which all of you must start understanding. Natural uranium has 100% thorium 232. If you get natural uranium to 1 kg, it is 100% uranium 232. Sorry, natural thorium, green, natural thorium, 100% thorium 232. Natural uranium has 99.3% uranium 238 and 0.7% uranium 235. That thin red line on the right, purple round, is uranium 235. 238 is not useful for fission or producing electricity. 235 is the fissile material. Common logic. But what I'm saying is not 100% right. I'll explain to you later. So this is the common logic. Okay. We already said we have very little uranium. In that very little uranium, only 0.7% is uranium 235, which you can use for your nuclear energy. Whereas you have a hell of a lot of thorium, and 100% of that is uranium 232, which you can use for your nuclear energy. Understand this. Now, where does the uranium come from? It comes from Kazakhstan, Canada, Australia, Namibia, EA, vagara, 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 down below. That is why we want good relations with Kazakhstan, Canada, Australia, and all these countries. And they feel very pricey to give us uranium. एंड उतना ही देते हैं जिससे हमारा थोड़ा बहुत काम चल सके और वो पैसा हमारे से खूब सारे बरामद करते हैं. एंड देन ऑल दीज कंट्रीज गिव यू यूरेनियम टेक्नोलॉजी. देयर टेक्नोलॉजी वी हैव टू अडॉप्ट टू गेट uranium from them. That is where Russia also comes in. So Russia might be your friend, but what does Russia do? They give you that uranium technology and they give you uranium, and you have to buy only from them. You can't get away from them. If you don't get away from them, you're paying hell of a lot to them. They might be our friends, but they've been squeezing us. Having said that, it's okay. I mean, we could do nothing else. They at least gave us. Many countries didn't give us. Like Canada stopped giving us at some point of time. They pulled out. Okay. Australia till recently was making you cry to give you uranium. It's only now, after COVID, when they got short hua, so now we can start talking to them. Okay. China, of course, will not give. Kazakhstan, why do you think we have good relations with Kazakhstan? You need uranium from them. So, and we are not part of the NPT, all that. So, we are not part of the nuclear suppliers group. So, China is blocking. If China is blocking you, you don't get. Why is China blocking you? Why is they not allowing you to go ahead? You'll understand. If you get enough plutonium, then the whole story is gone the other way around. And that's why we have gone back in time, because we've been under sanctions and all that. You saw that earlier graph where we went down, we didn't have uranium. Now, I'll make you understand this whole story logically. You see that purple thing, which if you have 100 grams of uranium, naturally you mine, you get 0.7% of uranium 235, that thin red line in the middle. Now, when you take uranium 235 and bombard it with a neutron, it turns into uranium 236. And uranium 236 is the fissile material. It breaks. When it breaks, it becomes right, and krypton, barium and krypton, and you get energy. And these three neutrons will go hit three more uranium 235 neutrons, and then you'll get three more, nine, and then you start a fission chain. That's the logical, normal process. Okay. So, more than 99% of uranium which you get naturally is waste, logically, earlier. But later people said, no, there is another way of utilizing this. They said, you take uranium, okay, 238, you bombard it with a, impregnate it with a neutron. Then it decays over 5 years. 5 years it takes and becomes plutonium 239. Now, plutonium 239, if you bombard it with a fast neutron, you get energy. That's a plutonium bomb. There's the basic thing. So people said, okay, you have that uranium 235, that little sliver. You keep doing what you want with it. Let us use this process of uranium 238, convert it into plutonium and use it. This is the fundamental story of thorium. We'll come later. To start the thorium cycle, you need a lot of plutonium. Why? We'll just explain. A lot of plutonium. And hence, to convert uranium 238 into plutonium 239 takes 5 years. The delay. Now, I'll put the cart before the horse. What has the Prime Minister done? He started this process. This. Mota mota. But it's a slightly modified form. This is the crux. It's not as if we were not doing this. We've had fast breeder test reactors earlier. We've had fast breeder reactors earlier. But this particular fast breeder reactor is slightly different. We'll come. And it is indigenous. We'll come to that. Now, this is the interesting part, the meat, thorium cycle. So, these three cycles are important. The first cycle is uranium 235, which goes directly fissile. You put a neutron, you get barium and krypton out and energy. The second, uranium, you impregnate it with a neutron, it becomes plutonium, and after 5 years, and that gives you is fissile. You can use it, convert it into weapon grade, and use it for atom bombs and all that, nuclear warheads, or you can use it in a reactor. This is the thorium cycle. What does the thorium cycle say? Start at the bottom. Now, natural thorium, which is available, which has uranium 232, is not fissile. It absorbs a neutron from fission. That means a fission reaction has to start it. That means you fission either the plutonium or the uranium 235, and those neutrons will impregnate this to become thorium 233. So add 232 में एक neutron, it becomes thorium 233. Now thorium 233 is unstable. It decays very quickly in about 22 minutes to proactinium 233. That also is not stable. It decays in a matter of 27 days to uranium 233. Now, this uranium 233 is highly fissile. If this is bombarded with a neutron, you will get neutrons and energy. That is the reaction, this chain. So, in the thorium cycle, you need something to bombard or impregnate thorium 232 into 233, impregnate it, and then go the whole cycle. Then again, you need neutrons or fission material to bombard 233 to get more. Once this starts, you will get more energy out. The thorium cycle is a breeding cycle. It doesn't stop. फिर एक बार चल पड़ा तो चल पड़ा. Okay. Now you see from platinum to uranium, it takes 27 days. That is why it is called a molten salt reactor. It is kept in that reactor for 27 days in molten salt. It's right. I'll not talk more than that technologically. Molten salt, so that it becomes. Once that whole process starts, we are through. If you don't have enough plutonium for to start the process, it fizzles out. So the criticality is that you need to have enough plutonium to start the process. Understand this. So you have three cycles. I'll go back and explain again. The first cycle is the uranium 235 cycle, which gives you direct fission, direct energy. Then the uranium 238 cycle, where you impregnate it with a neutron. And after 5 years, it becomes plutonium. And if that plutonium fission with a fast neutron, you get energy and fission, a lot of it. And that is what you need. So we'll get to that now. Okay, and then of course the thorium. Thorium, first you impregnate the thorium 232 with a neutron, make it 233, then you get uranium 233 naturally after 27 days, and then you impregnate it with a neutron, you will get energy, and this energy is self-sustaining after that. As far as you keep loading thorium you have to load and ensure that adequate fissionable material is there. This is the block diagram. Thorium converts into thorium 233, converts into proactinium, and it converts into uranium, which is fissile. Right. Now, how does a normal reactor work? On the left, the leftmost, jahan rods hai, in red, that's the where your fissile material is kept, and the reaction takes place. In a normal uranium reactor, right, the first thing works. Uranium 235 fission, energy comes out. That energy is trapped in water. It hits the water up. That water goes through another water cylinder. Okay, another water cylinder from where steam comes out, and the steam goes and drives the turbine. Now, these reactors are of different types. It could be a water cooled reactor, it could be a light water reactor, it could be a heavy water reactor, it could be a pressurized heavy water reactor. There are different varieties. I'll not go into it. I can explain each one, but I'll not go into it. And you get energy out. And what steam comes out from that generator, it is again taken through a coolant, converted into water, and it goes. So it's like a radiator. गाड़ी का radiator जैसा ही है. There's nothing much difference. So now you have, there's a standard process. Now comes the three-stage program. I'll explain this. In the first stage is the pressurized heavy water reactor. Right. In the second stage is the fast breeder reactor, plutonium fueled fast breeder reactor. In the third stage is the uranium 233 fueled reactor. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Where are we? You have mastered stage 1 completely. You know technology of stage 2. That is what our Prime Minister has inaugurated. He's loaded the core. It's gone operational, that means. It's only one, but We'll come to that. And then the third stage is the molten salt reactor, which we don't have. But we have something else. We have a water cooled thorium reactor. I'll talk about it a little later. Remember, China said two. How much do we have? We'll talk. Okay. So let's talk of the first stage. The first stage, uranium fueled pressurized heavy water reactors. So this is it. What happens in this? Just understand. This part of the reaction takes place. These two. So you in this pressurized heavy water reactor, in normal reactors, what happens is this uranium is enriched. Normal reactors, uranium is enriched. 235 and about from 0.7% it goes to about 12% or so and fed in, and that is bombarded and you get out. But in this pressurized heavy water reactor, what happens is you don't do that. Whatever uranium is there, in whatever form it is there, in water, this thing, everything is pumped in. Now what is the logic? And then it is bombarded with neutrons. Okay. Now what, two reactions take place in this. First, the uranium 235, that little amount of uranium 235 becomes 236, gives you energy. And that energy goes on to the top in terms of electricity. So that is as far as 235 is concerned. But what is interesting is what happens to the uranium 238. From a pressurized heavy water reactor, the neutrons which you come out of the fission reaction of 235, some neutrons produce energy, some neutrons go into the uranium 238. And that uranium 238 gets converted into plutonium 239 after 5 years. But the process has started. So what you're going to get out is 238 and 239, which is the mole. So output from a pressurized heavy water reactor, which is the first stage, is depleted uranium. That is uranium, depleted uranium is uranium without uranium 235. With almost 100% uranium 238. And depleted uranium is the one which is used in APDF, FSDS. It's a hard material. So that is available, and then you get plutonium. ये दोनों लेके आप बैठ जाते हो 5 साल के लिए. Because till then you can't use it. That decay process happens. Okay. Now what happens? In the second stage is the uh, thorium stage. This is very interesting, and that's what we have done. Okay. Now in this, what happens is you take the depleted uranium, ये जो बाहर निकला ना, depleted uranium and plutonium, you put it into this fast breeder reactor. Depleted uranium and plutonium is the mixed oxide fuel which both goes into this fast breeder reactor. And then you bombard it with neutrons. When you bombard it with neutrons, okay, you get 238, uranium 238, which the depleted uranium which is there gets converted into plutonium. And the plutonium which you are putting, which is bombarded, gives you energy. Now, energy and neutrons. Right. So the energy, neutrons which get converted into energy give you electric energy. There's no problem. Usko nikal do. But other neutrons which are coming out from bombarding this plutonium, the red part of that plutonium in this, okay, they again impregnate the depleted uranium within. Some part, when you put fast neutrons on the plutonium which you have loaded, okay, so some part becomes energy, some part converts the depleted uranium into plutonium, which I've shown on the right niche. So you get plutonium from the depleted uranium. And that is again cycled back in this fast breeder. So this cycle continues till you get more, the whole process is going on. You keep feeding more plutonium each cycle. Now here comes the fun. Now what you do in this is you put a blanket, chadar ordo. Chadar ordo of uranium 232. It is available naturally. So in this process, it is you introduce the second formula. So what happens? So the depleted uranium and plutonium, which is fed in and bombarded with the first thing, you get plutonium, you get energy, and some of this thorium 232 gets converted into uranium 233. This is what has started in Kalpakam already. And what I'm saying is not, I've picked all this gyan out of the net. Like here, he bol raha hai. Indian general is making an atomic bomb on his YouTube channel. Interesting. I'm not making an atomic bomb. I'm showing you reactors, how they behave, and this is from the web. You can go to any web and you can get all this. It's only that I know how to pick things up. I'm putting it across to you. Okay. So again, second stage, like I said, the first half of the second stage is you put depleted uranium, you put plutonium in this fast breeder reactor, you bombard it with neutrons. So one side you get energy, the second side you get plutonium, and this plutonium is what, based on this. It's this niche wala hai. So that means, right, but the thing in this is it takes time. This plutonium from DU which comes out, depleted uranium, takes 5 years for you to recycle. That is the delay. Understand this. It takes 5 years for this recycle to happen. It already has taken 5 years for you to get that plutonium as an input. See, this plutonium which you got out of the first stage has to be kept for 5 years before you use it again. Right? So you've taken 10 years already. 5 years there, 5 years second cycle to put it into the thing. Also, some neutron, something when you fission the plutonium goes into energy, some goes into the depleted uranium, absorbs it, becomes plutonium. And if you put a chadar of thorium 232, it becomes uranium 233. Tino banta hai. Okay. Now what happens initially, like what they have started, initially this thorium 232, if you don't have a thorium blanket, you could put a uranium blanket, in which case you'll get more plutonium. So initially you increase the amount of plutonium, right? After 3-4 years, you will take it out and you start putting the thorium and convert it thorium into uranium 233, and then the more excess amount of plutonium after 4-5 years you start loading back. So in this cycle, it takes 10 years from the raw material to here to get uranium 232 and rod 232 fissile uranium 233. 10 years. This is a basic cycle. You can't beat this cycle. If what has come out in the media so far, the second cycle of 5 years has started. Okay? So plutonium would have started coming out and it would be in the decay process and you'll store it and after 5 years you can go to the next stage. That's the minimum. So to say that tomorrow it will start is wrong. To say that we don't have anything is wrong. And you can't start this process unless you're clear of the after 5 years what you're going to do. Because after 5 years, if you have plutonium, what do you do with it? If you can't use it here, you have to either power your own reactors, you have to build more reactors, normal reactors, or build bombs. Plutonium 239, you can make bombs. So one of the three you have to do. Okay. But if you want to power a uranium reactor all over, you need uranium to start with, which you don't have. Okay. So you might as well go for the thorium one. That is what we have done. So 5 years hence, minimum. 5 years hence, you will start producing thorium based energy. एक बार वो शुरू हो गया फिर तो कोई रोक नहीं है. Then it's the how much you can put. Having said that, it's not after 5 years you will go to the peak. You will slowly build up. So now let's look at the third stage of this story. Understand the third stage of this story. Okay? What is this? So in the third stage of the story is this. You got here, you see this? You see this? Second stage, you got uranium 233 out. The rest is energy you got out. Plutonium is being recycled. Okay? And you also have a thorium 232 blanket. This thorium 232 blanket gets impregnated by neutrons and you're getting uranium 233. So you're getting uranium 233 overall. You're getting uranium 233, you're getting plutonium, you're getting energy. That is why it's a fast breeder reactor. Fast breeder reactor. Earlier we had fast test breeder reactors. Fast test breeder reactors. Today you are having a fast breeder reactor. The test part is over. So here, now let's see this story. यहाँ देखो. So what have you done? You are loading this with thorium now. Then the uranium 233 which you have, you already loading it. That's the fissile material which will kickstart the thorium cycle. So thorium 232, uranium 233, you put in the molten salt reactor. Okay? Right. So what started with plutonium, now you convert into uranium, which is fissile. You bombard it, you'll get more out. That will put the thorium cycle into play. After 27 days, you'll start getting more uranium out. So you get more uranium, you keep plowing it back. So this cycle. So you started with one cycle. I'll go back again. You started with the normal U35 cycle. You use the 238 cycle to plutonium cycle with normal thing. And then you went into the second stage where you use depleted uranium and plutonium into the fast breeder reactor. Then you put a chadar blanket of 232 thorium, chadar, thorium ka chadar. You got uranium 233 out. So you're transiting from one nuclear equation to the other. And in the third stage, you're doing this and you're getting energy. This is the final stage. So the question is, where are we? ये तो कहानी बोल दिया. This is a molten salt reactor. तकरीबन same है. I'll not go into it because it will become too confusing. Okay. Now this is part of bark thing I'm reading out from there. Okay. Indian molten salt breeder reactor is the platform to burn thorium as the part of third stage Indian nuclear program. Now, these molten stage salt reactors require new technologies in lithium enrichment, salt purification, vagara, vagara, vagara. It's a complicated process for which we are in the process. Like, I agree. He says, generally, it is too technical to understand, clearly difficult. Yeah, I am not here to give you kahanis. Please, this channel is not for kahani. This channel is to explain to you reality. This explains technology. This explains strategy. I combine technology and strategy. This leads to strategic independence. I'm proving to you how India is going to be strategically independent. I'm proving to you how we have pushed back China. I'm proving to you why we are the world leaders in thorium technology. Be proud of what you are doing. It is not you asking every question, sir, can China attack us tomorrow? China can't attack you for many reasons, and this is one of the reasons. They'll be scratching their head that an Indian general can be explaining all this to you chaps. I've given you the technology because if you don't understand, I know many of you will not understand this technology. But if I don't explain this technology to you, you'll think I'm poodle faking. But now I'll explain to you in simple terms also. ऐसी बात नहीं है. Now I'll explain this. Reality check क्या है? What is the reality check of what we have I explained? First stage, we started the indigenous development of nuclear powered plants based on uranium cycle in pressurized heavy water reactors. When? Long back. Okay. At present, we have 12 such reactors under operation. 4 are under construction, and several others have been planned. We are self sufficient in all aspects of pressurized heavy water technology. So, we'll go back now. No Kani. So, in this first stage, we are self sufficient. Pressurized heavy water reactor. That means you can get energy out. You can make depleted uranium. We have 12 plants, maybe more by now, and plutonium. You can make self sufficient. But what you don't have is the first. You don't have enough uranium. That's the problem. But slowly that you'll overcome that because the three-stage process makes everything happen. Second stage, we started the fast breeder reactor program with a fast breeder test reactor at Kalpakam long back. This reactor is operating with indigenously developed uranium and plutonium fuel, all that which I've explained. And now we are we put the fast breeder reactor and we've loaded the core, and that is on. That's what our prime minister started. In a year or so, or I don't know what the time frame is, you'll use a thorium blanket on it and you'll get uranium from this. So you'll start getting uranium from this, uranium, fissile uranium, in a few years. You'll start. And then the trick here, we don't have a molten salt reactor as of now, but I'm sure we have the technology for it. Why? What he says is considerable thorium irradiation experience has been acquired in research reactors, and we have introduced thorium in our pressurized heavy water reactors in a limited way. It has already been done. That's why I said India has got the maximum research in thorium. 50% of the research papers generated all over the world are from India because India is betting big on thorium. No other country is betting big as much as India because we have that capability. We have the raw material. We don't have to depend on anyone. Okay? Right. I'll come back to it. Sorry. Right. So with our sustained effort over the past many years, we have already have small scale experience over the entire thorium cycle, fuel cycle. Kamni reactor is the only operating reactor in the world which uses uranium 233 as fuel. And this has been with us for the past 10 years. We are going to enlarge that experience to a bigger scale. So we have technology of thorium. The thorium cycle, molten, I'm sure we'll get it. It's a matter of time. So you understand what China chap is doing. He's talking of 2, we're talking of 30. This is a 30 megawatt stuff. The molten salt reactor is not a new technology. It was first made in 1940. So we'll be able to make it. It's not a big deal. Okay. Now this is what new, international reactor in the international website says. India has a largely developed indigenous nuclear power program. Government is committed to growing its nuclear power capacity, no doubt. Ambitious targets to grow nuclear capacity, there is no doubt. Okay, all this is fine. See this, due to earlier trade bans and lack of indigenous uranium, India has uniquely been developing a nuclear fuel cycle to exploit its reserves in thorium. Okay. Last, Indian heavy water reactors have for a long time used thorium bearing fuel bundles for power flattening in some fuel channels. Initially, in initial course, when special reactivity control measures are needed. That means we have what I showed yesterday is now being reported by an international website. Okay, so we are there. Don't worry. We had two choices to kickstart or thorium cycle. Either you buy plutonium or enhance your plutonium manufacture. We have gone for the second one. Okay, yeah. So this was about 5 years back. They said this will take 15 to 20 years, out of which 10 years has passed already. Okay, so we are already well into the whole thing. I'll not go into all this now, because that's right. We've gone past that stage where we have to, this is the criticality fast breeder reactor. Once this comes, the third stage, you already have adequate technology for the past 10, 15 years. Kamini reactor, 30 megawatts. That fellow has got two. I showed though. And he says he is the world leader. You want to believe him? Believe him. Or you want to believe all what I've spoken? Believe it. Your choice is yours. Okay, sorry. Right. I'll take only a few questions because I have to go on to Jaipur dialogues. Please come there. I'm going to talk Iran-Iraq war in Hindi. Right. I'll not go to many of this thing. Yeah, we already have a 50 megawatt fast breeder reactor. Yeah. I agree with you, Vishnathan, but that was not with a thorium blanket, which we have done now. That was a fast breeder reactor which we got plutonium for your weapon program. We have technology. Our problem is having the base fuel. That is what will take us time. Okay. Uh, yeah, can we expect breakthrough second stage? We have done. There's no breakthrough. We have commissioned a reactor. So we are on our way. This is the biggest, if this is what it sounds. Why? See, some things which have happened in this country, many of us don't know. When I saw that thing from PMO, and you search now in the web and see what the PMO has said and see it in more detail, and you will understand we are already there. That is why strategic independence, we should bet on India, not on bloody China. All this, you ask how much energy we need and all, up dekh lo. I don't want to. Yeah, I told you, Kamini reactor. So, Vishnathan, Kamini is there. It's in the details on the DA website. I also got it from there only. The only thing is that's a water cooled reactor. It is not a molten salt reactor. We need a molten salt reactor for thing. We are looking at molten salt, but we have this option also. So, right. Yeah, view, sir. This is brilliant. Thank you for the much needed education. Welcome anytime. Okay. It is quite unfortunate that your channel has only 29.3 subscriptions. Up kya bole? My thanks for your efforts when you could have taken an easy recommend. Look, Nakul, I'm not, listen, 20, 1 year back I had zero. In 1 year I've come to 29.5. With your help, please subscribe because you'll get facts, figures, and absolutely technology और scientific आंसर्स. हम सट्टा नहीं बोलेंगे. अभी जयपुर डायलॉग्स में बहुत लोग आके सट्टा बोलते हैं, हम सही बोलेंगे. ठीक है, वहां भी जाके आप ईरान इराक के और 1 घंटे के बाद बात करेंगे. यू विल गेट द राइट स्टोरी देयर. ओके. Okay, right. So please subscribe. All of you who are here, please subscribe. Okay. He thinks better than he thinks far better than poor Indian generals who come on your channel. Look, I am still a poor Indian general. That's what many people have said. I'm still a poor Indian general. Whatever I have, I want to give back to my country. Oh, don't take it like that. He's a nice chap. Habib Gulani has been coming. Uh, give him his leeway. Right. The, yeah, React FBR reactor holds the world record for the most delayed project. ठीक है, that's okay. There are certain things we are under sanctions. Remember, no one is giving you uranium. Please understand. Don't be critical of everything what happens in India. Okay, we couldn't afford. China was still blocking us. China is still blocking you, but you're getting around it. देर सही पर दुरुस्त हो रहा है ना मामला, वो तो सोच लो यार. Why are going for plutonium for thorium cycle rather with uranium 235? You can limitation. You don't have uranium 235. You have to kickstart the whole cycle with uranium 235 and uranium 238, and that is only, see, all other reactors you use uranium 235 enriched as a fuel. It's only in the pressurized heavy water reactor you use natural uranium as the fuel, and you get plutonium out. That is why we have gone in for the pressurized heavy water technology, and we have 12 of them operating. It breeds. It's also a breeder. Okay. Salute to late Home Baba. Yes, all for him. Yeah, possibility for sourcing uranium. No one will give you uranium. That's why we are where we are. Today, great energy, no more required. Lot of things you might still need, but your strategic partnerships will ensure that you go through. You don't have a choice. Become apparent to me every big change in the timeline revolves around technological advancement. Yes, I agree with you. हर चीज का अपना वक्त होता है. वक्त से पहले कुछ नहीं होता. वक्त जब आ जाता है कुछ रोक नहीं सकते हो आप. याद रखना. Yeah, Akash will meet at the airport dialogues. Will it reduce our electricity bill? Yeah, तुम तो नेगेटिव ही देखते रहते हो साइका. थोड़ा पॉजिटिव देख लो. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Akash. Where are other countries in terms of having their own thorium reactors? Very few have. Very few. All of them are experimental. I've told you, everyone went in for uranium because uranium was available with them quite a bit. Thorium is not available the way it is available in India. Even in China, they get thorium because they're using it as a it is an outflow of what they're using for rare earths. They get rare earths in that Gobi desert. That thorium which they got out is what they're using. They don't have that much thorium. ये बकवास करते हैं ये सब. प्रूवन टू यू वो झूठ बोल रहे हैं. और क्या बोलूं मैं अब. ओके. या आकाश, थैंक्स अ लॉट once again. सर, वन या दो सनसनी केज एपिसोड करो, सब्सक्राइबर्स 1 लाख हो जाएंगे. देख यार, उतना मेरे को ना इस उम्र में सनसनी केस के आदत नहीं है. सच बोल लो, सही करो बस. One day we will entire nuclear supplies group, because once you get thorium, everyone will be outside on your door. You can set up your own nuclear supplies group. Okay. Yeah, or your sign in French seems symbolic to the nuclear supply groups and others who wanted to skittle our nuclear programs. Thanks. I'm glad that this thing we can say we have come to a stage where everything will happen. Yeah, is it useful? Is possible to use thorium reactors for aircraft carriers and submarines? At this point of time, no. But in due course, who knows? Like, see, granted to the Chinese that they're already running a 2 megawatt stuff in Gobi Desert, experimental thing, and they're trying to put it in a ship. So if they're doing it, why can't we do it tomorrow? Okay. So everything is feasible. But our first requirement is energy. Why do you need so much energy? If your GDP is to double, you need double the energy. Where are you going to get that energy from? A major chunk of that energy is going to come from thorium. And it's cheap. It's yours. Your technology. Okay? Yeah. Until when we will receive stage 3 and generate electricity from thorium? We already started generating electricity from thorium in stage 2. Every stage of this program gives you electricity. The third stage is completely thorium based. Okay? That will take time. I told you 5 years, because that plutonium, we have to build that plutonium up. Anything 5 to 10 years is the time period I look at it. Okay? So till then you'll build up stocks. The more stocks you build up, the more better it is. And first you'll go with one plant, then you keep increasing it. As you progress, as you can afford everything and you get gain technology, you'll do. It's a matter of patience. Do the other countries even care about thorium reactors? How are we bothered about it? They don't have thorium, so they can't care. They're not. They what will they do? That is why there's not much research on thorium, and we've had to do our own research and make it on our own. Okay, yeah, I finished. Thanks a lot. A lot of you have come and watched. Please tell everyone. Send this message to everyone. Come watch Gunner Shot. You'll get original stuff which is good for the nation, not for any party, not for any religion, not for any caste, not for any creed, but for India. For the defense of India, for the best interests of India. If all of you are good Indians, join me. Get more, right? And what I don't research, I don't talk. By now, you would understand. It took me some time to understand this whole thing to put it across to you. Anyway, I am running out of time. Shortly, it is already 9:26. 10 o'clock, I have to be on Jaipur Dialogues. See you there. वहाँ हिंदी में बात करेंगे तब तक के लिए प्रणाम